Coming up on this episode of Freedom from Fire, we'll discuss burn prevention, safety, and recovery. We'll have two guests with us to discuss their personal experiences, so stay tuned to Freedom from Fire. Hello, and welcome to Freedom from Fire. I'm your host, Fire Commissioner Derek Sawyer. Here at Freedom from Fire, we bring you fire and life safety information and introduce you to our local safety partners. Later on today's episode, I'm going to sit down with Rosemary Washington, founder and president of Healed with Scars. We'll also sit down with Philadelphia Fire Department paramedic Janae Pearson. Our guests have personal experience with being burned. They persevered through their injuries and are here today to share their courageous stories. But first, I would like to share some scald safety tips with you. A scald injury can happen at any age. Children and older adults and people with disabilities are especially at risk. Hot liquids from bath water, hot coffee, and even microwaved soup can cause devastating injuries. Since scald burns are the most common type of burn-related injuries among children, I will share a few safety tips that will help you out. Teach children that hot things burn. Install anti-scald devices on tub faucets and shower heads. Test the water at the faucet. It should be less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Before placing a child in the bath or getting in the bath yourself, test the water. You test the water by moving your hand, wrist, and forearm through the water. The water should feel warm, not hot to the touch. Place hot liquids and food in the center of the table or towards the back of a counter. Have a kid-free zone of at least 3 feet around the stove and areas where hot food and drink are being prepared or carried. Open microwave food slowly and open away from the face. Never hold a child while you are cooking, drinking a hot liquid, or carrying hot foods or liquids. Never heat a baby bottle in the microwave oven. Heat baby bottles in warm water from the faucet. Always microwave food to cool before eating. Allow microwave food to cool before eating. Choose packaged soups where containers have a wide base, or to avoid the possibility of a spill, pour the soup into a traditional bowl after heating. Following these simple precautions will help keep you safe from potential burns. Firefighters wear protective equipment called bunker gear during emergencies and extreme hazardous conditions. Student producer Mark Wilson visited Engine 51 and Ladder 29 to find out more about firefighters' bunker gear.
Firefighters wear special gear known as PPE, or personal protective equipment, to prevent them from being burned in a fire. Captain Sean Glynn and firefighter Anthony Washington showed us this gear and equipment. Captain Glynn explained the various layers in the gear.
Okay, the outer layer of our bunker gear is made from a Kevlar blend material. This is actually the natural color. We have ours come dyed black, and it protects all the other liners that we have underneath it, which are the most important.
The outer layers absorb and reflect heat. The inner layers create a thermal barrier that allows heat to leave the gear, but does not allow heat in.
The inner liner is 4 layers.
Firefighter Washington demonstrated putting the gear on as Captain Glynn talked about how it keeps firefighters safe. Firefighters wear a fire-resistive Nomex material hood to protect their head and neck. Firefighters wear jackets made of the same materials as the pants, which help prevent burns on their upper body.
The equipment he's going to don is the SCBA breathing apparatus. Contains air.
The SCBA provides breathable air for firefighters in the smoky conditions. It also prevents firefighters' lungs from being burned when in a fire. After donning their SCBA, or self-contained breathing apparatus, firefighters only have a few more pieces of equipment to put on before they are ready to go fight a blaze.
Dons his helmet. Then his gloves. He's ready to go.
Even with all this gear, Captain Glidden says firefighters are only fire resistive, not fireproof. For LaSalle TV, I'm Mark Wilson.
Here to help us understand more about burn recovery, we have with us today founder and president of Healed with Scars, Rosemary Washington. Hello, Rosemary. How are you?
Hello, Commissioner. I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Good, good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, in 1986, I was in an automobile accident. A van hit my car. My car hit a tree and exploded. The man that was driving the van, he burned to death. And so this would take me to the hospital, and I did 5 months and 2 weeks at St. Agnes Burn Unit.
So tell us about some of your struggles during your recovery.
Well, during my recovery, I met with lots of struggles, but primarily the one struggle was facing the failures of the surgeries. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of surgeries, and all of those surgeries were not successful. So going in, the doctor sits you down, he plans the surgery, tells you the goal of the surgery, but as often as they will tell you that the possibility of the surgery being successful may not. So we have to remember that it's not a plastic surgeon. Right. If you've been burned, you are dealing with a reconstructive surgeon. And so a reconstructive surgeon has to rebuild what you've lost from the fire.
Right, so you're the president of Healed with Scars, right?
Yes, I am.
So when did you organize Healed with Scars, and why did you do it?
Well, in 2005, I decided to start a support group called Healed with Scars. And the reason why I wanted to start a support group, for many years there was no one for me to talk to, with the exception of going to the hospital, therapeutic sessions, doctor visits. At those times I would see other burn survivors or people with burn injuries. But from day to day, month to month, I would never see anyone else. And then there came a time when the visits were few at the hospital for me and for other burn survivors. And so I inquired, where were all the burn patients? And then I would find out that a lot of them did not have the coverage to continue the services. Right. So that prompted me to seek out the other people with burn injury. Where are you? What are you doing? What do you need?
Right. So you talked a little bit about support groups. What type of support groups do Healed with Scars provide?
Well, we provide, if a family member has someone that's in the hospital, at a certain time, we will go visit that family member. We'll go to the emergency, and we'll sit in emergency with the families, let them know that their loved one can have life also, can have a prosperous life, a functional life after this burn injury. So, so from time to time, we will show up with pictures and photos and to try and give the family hope, to let them know that their family member can live a successful life with a burn injury.
That's great. So are there any other services that your organization provide?
Certainly, we meet once a month, and during those meetings, those support group meetings, we also have people to come in to speak to us on fitness, finance, and how to live your best life. And at those support group meetings, we talk about the things that might bother you from month to month or day to day, such as people staring at you in public places, your relationships, how they've changed because of how you look.
So tell us a little bit about this 10-year anniversary. You're coming up on 10 years, right?
Yes, we are.
You must be proud of that, right?
Yes, we are, and we certainly thank God for it. 10 years we've been serving in the Philadelphia area, and it has only been maybe a few times we did not have a support group meeting, and that's because of the weather.
Right.
But other than that, we have been there every Saturday, and we have met and encouraged each other. We've shared our stories. We never say, this is what you should do. We always say, this is what I did.
Right.
This is what my experience has been. And so a lot of the obstacles that I've dealt with and other burn survivors deal with, we talk about that in our support group meetings, and we talk about it in a way, we're raw with it. We do not patty cake around it. We talk about what it's like to be rejected, what it's like when your husband no longer wants to be with you because you look a certain way, or what it's like when the caretaker is tired of taking care of you. And we talk about, your fears. There are times when you can have a surgery, and the surgery can be successful, but 5 years down the line, what was successful has now become a failure because the burned skin sometimes shrinks.
Right.
It shrink, and what it did after the surgery, the initial surgery, it no longer does, and that can be disappointing. We've learned, the members in the group, we've learned that the scars that we have, if we injure that area now, that it takes a long time for it to heal. And so it's an ongoing process. It's a never-ending taking care of those scars. You have to be mindful of those scars. And we've had members who lost their vision, who lost fingers. But I want you to know, because of the support group, because of the camaraderie, and because of information that we get from the hospitals, we've learned how to overcome these obstacles.
Right, that's great. So how could a burn survivor contact Heal with Scars?
Well, you can go to our website, www.healwithscars.org, or you can phone us at 215-422-2022. And we're on Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. We're trying to reach a certain amount of likes. And for all of you out there, please tell your friends about us. And we know there are people who have hidden burns,
right,
who feel like, well, I don't need a support group. Nobody can see my burns, so I'm okay with that. But we would love for you to come and share your story, and because there are other members in the group who also have hidden scars. Right. And so, and even though the public may not see those scars, the person does. And so, and sometimes people have a hard time dealing with the scars that they have to see.
I really, really want to thank you for joining us today, and really for sharing your story. I think it's important to get your story out. So thanks for coming out and joining us.
Well, thank you. And we're having our event October the 9th, Friday, October the 9th, at the IAT's Ballroom, 2401 Swanson Street. So please support this event because the donation will help keep our organization moving. And we also give donations to family members who've lost their belongings and who've experienced people in their families with burn injury.
Great. So you heard Rosemary, support her event. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, our Man on the Street team went out and quizzed people about the history of the Philadelphia Fire Department in the United States. Test your knowledge with them, and then stay tuned for more Freedom from Fire.
Hey LaSalle, we're your Man on the Street correspondents here on campus to talk to you guys today about fire department history. Who started the first volunteer fire department? A. Thomas Jefferson, B. John Adams, C. Ben Franklin, or D. James Buchanan?
I would say Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
That's correct. Ben Franklin started the first volunteer fire department here in Philadelphia. The first volunteer fire department began in Philadelphia in what year? Is it A. 1706, B. 1736, C. 1766, or D. 1796?
1796.
I'm not sure.
I guess C.
That would be my guess as
I
well.
would
But it would be a
guess
guess.
Well, it's actually B. It's 1736. What was the name of the first fire department, which was made up of 30 volunteers? A. Union Fire Company, B. Columbia Fire Company, C. Patriot Fire Company, or D. Philadelphia Hook and Ladder?
C?
With the Union Fire Company A.
That's correct.
So this is a true or false question. True or false, firefighters would not put out fires unless there was a fire mark on the building indicating that the homeowner had fire insurance.
False.
True.
True.
It's actually false.
Everybody tells you that.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised to hear that too. Well, I figure if they're in danger, then they're gonna put out the fire no matter what. So it's false. Philadelphia had volunteer fire companies that would put out all fires.
Okay.
Another true or false? George Washington was a volunteer firefighter.
False.
False.
Oh, he says false, then we're together.
All right. Well, it's actually true.
I told you it was true, Rohan.
True.
That is true. Volunteer firefighters also included Alexander Hamilton, John Hancock, Samuel Adams, and Paul Revere. When did U.S. cities begin to have fully paid full-time firefighters? A, in the 1820s, B, in the 1850s, C, in the 1880s, or D, in the 1920s?
1850s?
1850s?
That's correct.
Philadelphia has its own museum celebrating the history of firefighting, the Fireman's Hall Museum. Where is it located? A, Broad Street, B, Passyunk Avenue, C, Walnut Street, or D, 2nd Street?
Is it D, 2nd Street?
2nd Street?
That's correct. It's located 147 North 2nd Street. And to find out more, you can go to firemanshall.org to plan your visit and learn more about our wonderful fire department here in Philadelphia. Okay. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In many forms and can happen 24/7. If you or someone you know is a victim of cyberbullying, take preventative and assertive action. Keep evidence and document all instances. Remember to record dates, times, descriptions, and also save and print screenshots. Block your cyberbully and present your evidence to school officials or law enforcement. No one deserves to be a victim of cyberbullying, and together we can end it. For more information, visit stopbullying.com.
Welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I'm your host, Fire Commissioner Derek Sawyer. On today's episode, we have been discussing burn prevention and recovery. Now joining us is Paramedic Janae Pearson of the Philadelphia Fire Department. Paramedic Pearson will share her story, inform us on how she recognized different types of burns and how to treat them. Janae, welcome to Freedom from Fire.
Thank you, Commissioner.
How you making out?
I'm okay.
You've been working hard?
Yes.
Good. That means you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
So how long have you been with the Philadelphia Fire Department?
I'm approaching 7 years in June.
7 years?
7 years,
It's been that
almost.
long.
Almost.
Seems like yesterday, right?
Yes, it does.
So tell us a little bit about your story.
I was 18 months old, living in an apartment with my mom, dad, 2 brothers, and my uncle. And because I was so young, I don't remember a lot, but I know what I've been told. And basically, the fire started on the wall with some wires in our bedroom where the children were. And by the time my oldest brother got up to go get my parents, and my dad got back in there fully engulfed. Long story short, I was in a wooden crib. My oldest brother was able to get my other brother out, and my dad went in to get me. And in doing so, he was burnt 68% of his body. By the time he got in, he said the flames were coming over the ceiling and everything dropping into my crib, and got me out, turned around, something told him to turn around, and he looks and he sees my older brother in there trying to get me out. So he goes back in, grabs him. Everyone makes it out. Everyone survived the fire. But like I said, I was 18 months old.
So what were some of the obstacles during your recovery?
From what I understand, initially they had me suspended in the air, and I was just a ball, swollen, infection, things like that. They actually didn't think I was going to make it, but I'm here today.
That's great.
Yes, God is good.
Yeah, God is good all the time.
Yes, and I have a lot of scars, mental scars I dealt with more so because I didn't remember the physical pain of the actual fire, but I remember my surgeries, and I do remember the mental anguish growing up with children and even adults at times talking about me or making remarks and very hurtful. And
Right.
for a long time I had to deal with that.
Right.
But I had to learn to be comfortable with myself,
That's right.
and that's why I'm here now.
Great. So you're a paramedic,
I am.
and you treat burn victims sometime.
I do.
What are some of the different degrees of burns that you can experience?
Generally, there's first, second, and third degree burns. First degree burns are usually classified something like sunburn. Second degree, you'll have some redness with some blistering. Third degree, you can have the blistering and some waxing of the skin, but you kind of lose sensation because of the damage that's been done.
Right, right.
You can actually have one burn, but have different degrees of burn in that area.
Right. So how should burns be treated? Because a lot of people think that you can just put baking soda on burns and things
No
like
butter.
that. No butter,
No
right?
butter.
So how should burns be treated?
One, always err on the side of caution. If you're concerned, definitely seek professional help. Minor burns, run some cool water over it. More serious burns, especially to your hands, face, your neck, chest, groin area, or your feet, definitely need to be seen in the emergency room. No butter.
No
Definitely
butter.
no
That's
butter.
right.
And just keep it dry, sterile dressing over it, and monitor the healing process.
Right. That's very important.
Yes.
Where is the burn center in the city of Philadelphia?
We have trauma centers that can treat burns, but the actual burn center that is labeled is Temple University for adults and St. Christopher's for pediatric, which I was a patient of St. Chris before they even moved to Erie Avenue.
Wow, where were they before?
They believe they were where St. Joe's University was, if I'm not mistaken, but I was too young to quite remember.
I got you.
But they started over there.
If you had one thing you would share with other burn survivors, what would that be?
Stay positive. Surround yourself with positive people. It definitely matters. And learn how to be comfortable with yourself.
Right.
And realize, me personally, I can talk for myself, that I had to realize that God does not allow anything to happen that you can't handle. And I look at this opportunity for that reason. People would ask me, would you ever get your burns taken off or things
Right.
like that if you could? And I always tell them no.
That's great.
I was 18 months old. I didn't have to feel that pain, and this is for a reason.
Right.
And I look at it as an opportunity to help other people to know that you may be burnt, and to people you may look different, but once you become comfortable with yourself and know that you are beautiful regardless, because beauty is on the inside and it comes on the outside, you'll be okay. And surround yourself with positive people.
So how has your faith helped you deal with your burns?
I could go on and on about that, but I'll tell you one thing, that I trust God and I know that He makes no mistakes. and that he loves me regardless, and I learned how to love myself. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And I just ask him all the time, why am I here? What is my purpose?
That's great. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, and more importantly, thank you for your dedication and service to the members and the citizens of the city of Philadelphia. But before you go, I have to ask you one thing.
What is that?
Will you take the pledge with me?
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to take the fire safety pledge.
Okay.
So before we take this pledge, I want to talk a little bit about your experience as a paramedic and how it has made you a better person.
Okay. Well, I've always wanted to help people, and I actually wanted to be a firefighter. But when you get burnt, you don't just deal with scars on the outside. My lungs are burnt pretty bad.
Right.
And I have difficulty breathing at times.
Right.
So now I chose the next path. I can't do firefighting. I'll be a paramedic. So I'm still helping. And I get to encounter different people and get to speak life into them and let them know that things are going to be okay. So I just move forward, and I feel like I'm in my element when I'm in my ambulance.
Great. So we're going to take this pledge, right?
Okay.
So, you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. I love my family, and I'm responsible for their safety. Therefore, I pledge the following. I pledge to have at least one working smoke alarm on each level of my home. I pledge to test my alarms as recommended and replace my alarms with new lithium battery-powered alarms when needed. I pledge that every family member will sleep with their bedroom door closed. I pledge to develop and practice a home escape plan. I pledge that if I cannot afford smoke alarms, I will call the non-emergency number 311 or visit www.phila.gov/311. All of this I do solemnly pledge. Well, thank you very much for taking the pledge.
Thank you.
Okay, some upcoming events. This Friday, February 6th, is our 6ABC Save a Life program at the Philadelphia Fire Academy. The Philadelphia Fire Department partners with 6ABC, Home Depot, Kidder, and Tri-State Toyota to provide smoke alarms to the tri-state area. Remember, if you would like to find out more about LaSalle TV, you can check out our social media sites. And if you are interested in learning about the Philadelphia Fire Department, visit our Facebook, Twitter, and web pages. I would like to once again thank Rosemary Washington from Heal with Scars and paramedic Janae Pearson of the Philadelphia Fire Department. I would also like to thank you for tuning in and watching. So until next time, remember, fire is everyone's fight. Stay safe and remain free from fire.